Picture this: March 27, 2022, the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, Los Angeles, the 94th Academy Awards, the Oscars, the biggest night in cinema, millions watching live around the world, the biggest celebrities in entertainment sitting in the audience. Chris starts his presenter routine. He's known for edgy jokes. He looks at the audience and spots Jada Pinkett Smith, wife of Will Smith, sitting in the front row. Jada has a shaved head. She's been open about having alopecia, a medical condition that causes hair loss. Chris Rock says, "Jada, I love ya. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it." It's a joke about her shaved head, referencing the 1997 film G.I. Jane, where Demi Moore shaved her head to play a soldier. The camera cuts to Jada. She rolls her eyes, clearly not amused. The camera cuts to Will Smith. At first he's laughing. Then he looks at Jada. Her expression changes everything. What happens next shocks the world. Will Smith stands up from his seat. He walks onto the stage. Chris Rock sees him coming, smiling, thinking maybe it's part of a bit. Then smack, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock across the face, hard, on live television, in front of the world. Chris stumbles back, stunned. The sound echoes through the theater. The audience gasps. No one knows what's happening. Is this staged? Is this real? Will Smith walks back to his seat. Chris Rock, trying to recover, says, "Wow, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me." The audience laughs nervously, still unsure if it's real. Then Will Smith, sitting back down, shouts from his seat twice, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth." The profanity is bleeped on the US broadcast, but international feeds catch it all. The room goes silent. This is real. Will Smith just assaulted Chris Rock at the Oscars, on live television, in front of Hollywood's elite and millions of viewers worldwide. The show continues, awkwardly. About 40 minutes later, Will Smith wins the Oscar for Best Actor for his role in King Richard. He walks on stage to accept the award, tears in his eyes. He gives an emotional, rambling speech about protecting his family, about being called to love people, about defending those he cares about. He doesn't apologize to Chris Rock. He thanks the Academy. He cries. The audience gives him a standing ovation, and the world watches in disbelief. This is the story of the slap, the moment Will Smith's career, reputation and legacy changed forever, the most shocking moment in Oscars history, and the cultural reckoning that followed about violence, masculinity, comedy, and consequences. Let me take you through what happened before, during and after the slap that shocked the world. Will Smith was born September 25, 1968, in Philadelphia. By the late 1980s, he was a successful rapper known as the Fresh Prince. In 1990, he starred in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which made him a TV star. By the late 90s and 2000s, he was a massive movie star. Independence Day, Men in Black, Ali, The Pursuit of Happiness. For decades, Will Smith was Mr. Nice Guy, the family-friendly superstar, the charismatic, funny, beloved actor who never had scandals. Parents let their kids watch his movies. He was wholesome, safe, successful, one of the biggest stars in the world. In 1997, Will married actress Jada Pinkett Smith. They had 2 children together, Jaden and Willow, and built a Hollywood power couple image. But behind the scenes, their marriage was complicated. Over the years, Jada and Will spoke openly about their unconventional marriage. They revealed they had an open relationship, that they'd been separated at times, that they'd both had relationships with other people. In 2020, Jada confirmed she'd had a relationship with singer August Alsina while she and Will were separated. They called it an entanglement. The revelation became a meme, but also revealed cracks in the seemingly perfect marriage. By 2022, Jada was dealing with alopecia, an autoimmune condition causing hair loss. She'd been open about it on social media and her talk show Red Table Talk. She shaved her head and embraced it publicly. But it was clearly a sensitive, painful issue for her. Meanwhile, Will Smith was at the peak of his career again. King Richard, where he played Richard Williams, father of Venus and Serena Williams, was a critical and commercial success. Will was the favorite to win Best Actor at the 2022 Oscars. It was supposed to be his crowning achievement, his vindication, his moment. And then came Oscar night. March 27, 2022. The Oscars are live. Will and Jada sit in the front row, prime seats. The show is going smoothly. Then Chris Rock comes out to present Best Documentary. Chris Rock has a history with the Oscars. In 2016, he hosted the ceremony and made jokes about the lack of diversity, the Oscars so white controversy. He's known for edgy, sometimes controversial humor. He doesn't hold back. When he sees Jada in the audience, he makes the G.I. Jane joke. "Jada, I love ya. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it." The joke is about her shaved head. It's not particularly harsh by Chris Rock standards, but it's personal. It's about her appearance. And given that Jada has been open about her struggle with alopecia, the joke feels insensitive. The camera shows Jada rolling her eyes. She's not laughing. Will initially laughs, but then he looks at Jada. Her expression hurt, angry changes everything for him. Here's where things get complicated. Some people later speculate that Will laughed at first because he didn't immediately process the joke, or because he was caught off guard. But when he saw Jada's reaction, something in him snapped. Will stands up. He walks onto the stage. The audience thinks maybe he's going up to say something funny, to play along with the joke. Chris Rock sees him coming and smiles, leaning forward slightly with the microphone, as if waiting for a punchline. Then Will Smith slaps him. Open palm across the face. The sound cracks through the theater. Chris stumbles back, clearly stunned. His face registers shock. The audience gasps. Chris Rock, trying to stay composed, says, "Wow, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me." Some people in the audience laugh, still thinking it might be staged, but the uncomfortable energy in the room says otherwise. Will Smith walks back to his seat. He sits down, and then he shouts, twice, at the top of his lungs, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth." The room goes silent. Lupita Nyong'o, sitting near Will, looks shocked. Tyler Perry and Denzel Washington are seen talking to Will, trying to calm him down. Chris Rock on stage is visibly shaken. He tries to continue. That was the greatest night in the history of television. He presents the award and leaves the stage. The show continues. But everyone in the theater and watching at home is in shock. What just happened? Behind the scenes, chaos erupts. Oscar producers, Academy officials, security. Everyone is scrambling. Should they remove Will Smith from the theater? Should they stop the show? What's the protocol for someone committing assault on live TV at the Oscars? They decide to let the show continue. Will Smith stays in his seat. About 40 minutes later his category comes up, Best Actor. The envelope is open, and the Oscar goes to Will Smith, King Richard. The audience applauds. Some stand. Will Smith walks to the stage, crying. He accepts the Oscar, and he gives one of the most bizarre, uncomfortable acceptance speeches in Oscars history. He talks about Richard Williams, the character he played. He talks about protecting his family. He says Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. He talks about being called to love people, to protect people. He says art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things. He thanks the Academy. He thanks his cast and crew. He's crying. And then he says, "I hope the Academy invites me back." He doesn't apologize to Chris Rock. He doesn't address the slap directly. He frames it as an act of love and protection. The audience gives him a standing ovation. He walks off stage with his Oscar. The world is watching in disbelief. Did Will Smith just assault someone, then give a speech justifying it and receive a standing ovation? Within minutes, social media explodes. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everyone is talking about the slap. Videos of the moment go viral. Memes are created instantly. The world is divided. Some people defend Will Smith. They say Chris Rock crossed a line by making fun of Jada's medical condition. They say Will was defending his wife, standing up for her, when she was publicly humiliated. They call him a protector, a husband who loves his wife. Others condemn Will Smith. They say violence is never the answer, especially over a joke. They point out that comedians make jokes. That's their job. They say Will committed assault on live television and faced no immediate consequences. They call it privilege, hypocrisy, and inexcusable. Chris Rock doesn't press charges. After the Oscars, he releases a brief statement through his representative saying he's processing what happened. He doesn't file a police report. He doesn't sue. He just moves on. But the Academy has to respond. The next day they release a statement condemning Will Smith's actions and announcing an investigation. They say violence has no place at the Academy Awards. Will Smith, the day after the Oscars, posts an apology on Instagram. He writes, "Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be." He apologizes to the Academy, to the other nominees, to the producers. He says he's a work in progress. But the damage is done. The Academy begins its formal review. 2 weeks later, on April 8, 2022, they announce their decision. Will Smith is banned from attending the Academy Awards and all Academy events for 10 years. He can still be nominated and win, but he cannot attend the ceremonies. Will Smith releases another statement accepting the punishment. He resigns from the Academy as a member. His career, his reputation, Everything he's built for 30 years is now tainted by 5 seconds of violence. In the months after the slap, the fallout continues. Multiple film projects involving Will Smith are put on hold or quietly canceled. Apple delays the release of Emancipation, his next film, pushing it from 2022 to late 2023. Studios are nervous about being associated with him. Will Smith largely disappears from public life. He posts occasional social media content but avoids major interviews. He's no longer Mr. Nice Guy. He's now the guy who slapped Chris Rock. Chris Rock, meanwhile, handles it with dignity. He doesn't trash Will in interviews. He does address it occasionally in his comedy shows. In his 2023 Netflix special, Selective Outrage, Chris finally addresses the slap directly. He talks about the pain, physical and emotional. He makes jokes about it but also reveals how humiliating it was. He says Will Smith is bigger than him, that getting slapped by a movie star hurt. He doesn't attack Jada, but he makes it clear the slap wasn't okay. The cultural debate continues. Was Will Smith protecting his wife or committing assault? Should Chris Rock have made the joke? What does this say about masculinity, violence, comedy, and boundaries? Some argue Chris Rock crossed a line. Alopecia is a medical condition. Jada has been open about her struggle with it. Making a joke about her shaved head, knowing it's due to a medical condition, feels cruel. In this view, Will had a right to be angry, even if his response was wrong. Others argue comedians make jokes. That's their job. If every comedian had to know every audience member's medical history before making a joke, comedy couldn't exist. And more importantly, nothing justifies violence. Words don't justify physical assault. There's also the question of privilege. If a regular person walked onto a stage and slapped someone at an event, they'd be arrested immediately. But Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, sat back down, and 40 minutes later received a standing ovation. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't removed. He won an Oscar. What does that say about celebrity privilege? And what about masculinity? Some see Will's actions as defending his woman, a traditional old-fashioned view of masculinity. Others see it as toxic masculinity, the idea that men solve problems with violence, that defending honor requires aggression. There's also speculation about Will and Jada's relationship. Some believe Will felt pressure to prove his masculinity, especially after years of public scrutiny about their open marriage, the entanglement scandal, and rumors about his role in the relationship. Did Will feel emasculated and overcompensate by attacking Chris Rock? We'll never know Will's full thought process, but the slap clearly wasn't just about a joke. It was about accumulated tension, personal pain, public image, and a split-second decision that destroyed decades of goodwill. As of 2024, Will Smith is slowly attempting a comeback. Emancipation was released in late 2022 to mixed reviews. Bad Boys 4 is in production, but his reputation remains damaged. Many people can't separate Will Smith the actor from Will Smith the man who slapped Chris Rock. Chris Rock's career, ironically, got a boost. His Netflix special addressing the slap was hugely successful. He's on tour, selling out shows. He came out of the situation as the victim, the professional, the guy who took a hit and kept going. The Academy stands by its decision, 10-year ban. Will Smith cannot attend the Oscars until 2032. He's 54 years old now. He'll be 64 before he can attend again. It's possible he'll never attend another Oscars ceremony. The slap changed everything. It ended Will Smith's nice guy image. It sparked global debates about comedy, violence, masculinity, and consequences. It became one of the most watched, most discussed moments in Oscars history. And it all happened in 5 seconds. One joke, one slap, one destroyed legacy. March 27, 2022, the Oscars. Chris Rock makes a joke. Will Smith walks on stage and slaps him. The world watches, and nothing is ever the same. 10 years banned from the Oscars, a career in limbo, a reputation shattered, all because of 5 seconds of violence on live television. The slap hurt around the world, and the question that remains, was it worth it?